Expert advice on retrofitting your home. Learn about solar, renewable energy and how to avail of SEAI grants. And Craving Community Centre, Termon. Mark your calendar and be part of this informative event.
Kevin Furey on Highland Radio.
The best of music on your station.
Welcome back to the programme. It is around the Northwest for this Thursday afternoon, just gone 12:30. Now, Bagatelle are to perform at the Letterkenny Festival, and I'm delighted to say that Ken Doyle, a founder member of Bagatelle, joins me now on the programme. Ken, a very good afternoon to you.
Very good afternoon to you, Kevin, and all the listeners in Donegal. It's been a long time. We can't wait.
You can't wait to get back to Donegal.
Oh, sure. We haven't. This will be gig number 4 with Bagatelle and Friends, and I have to say, for our seasoned fans, there's been no resistance. They've accepted it because the guys we have, the guy and the girl we have singing, Donna Sludds and Shane MacDonald, are just great singers. The whole band they're all friends because everybody knew Liam. You know, they were all friends of ours, and we finally got together, got the right kind of team together, and it's great doing the songs justice of the late, great John O'Brien and Liam Riley.
Yeah. Just take us back, Ken, briefly. The band, it all kicked off back in 1978, long before my time, but just tell us briefly how it all came about.
Well, I was in a previous band with the guitar player, John O'Brien, the late, great John O'Brien. And when that band had kind of run its course, he said he was starting up a new band. Would I be interested? I said, of course I would, because I love John as a person, but also loved him as a musician. And I said, I'd love to do it. So we got together, and eventually between the jigs and the reels, we had 5 people, including a girl, by the way, a lovely girl, lovely singer, Marion Byrne. And she, after, say, 8 or 9 months, decided she was going to go to America with her boyfriend. He was going back to the States. She wanted to go over and get married. And then we were left with a dilemma. What do we do? Mm-hmm. And Liam sat down behind the piano and he said, well, I write a few songs, because John wrote songs as well. Yeah. And like songs like Love Is the Reason and that John wrote, and Highway Blues and stuff, really good songs. And Liam said, well, I write a few songs as well. And he sat down at John's out-of-tune upright piano in his 100 Sugarloaf Crescent address in Break, how do we know where I am at the moment? And he played Summer in Dublin. And when he finished, he turned around and he said, well, what do you think? And nobody said anything. I remember saying to him, did you write that? And he said, yeah, I did. Why? Do you like it? I said, well, that's more than a song, Yeah. I mean, I never realised what it would turn into, but I knew it was so involved, real articulated, and everything about Summer in Dublin. It's not an elitist type of song. Anybody can have a Summer in Dublin, which a lot of people have told me over the years, that they had their very own Summer in Dublin. They had a day just like that.
Yeah, absolutely superb fun. It's one of those songs too that even when I was in Dublin, it was actually for my brother's graduation, and even just the song just automatically came into my head. It's just one of those songs. I was just going over the Liffey, and just the line of the Liffey as it stank like hell, it just came into my head like.
You might be too young to remember when it did stink like that.
Yeah.
But I tell you, that song has, as we realised from our tours in America, and that song and worldwide, that song is an anthem now. And for people who are quite homesick, a lot of people, we've never been to Australia and New Zealand, but a lot of people during the crash 8 or 10 years ago who left and emigrated to get work in Australia and New Zealand, they'd come back and they'd say, you've no idea how your music has kept me sane. Particularly Summer in Dublin, because for that 5 minutes I was actually in all the places that's in that song, walking down Grafton Street, jumping on a bus to Dunleary, all the stuff that's in it. It just was an amazing, it's an anthem really.
Yeah, definitely. And see back then,
I've seen the emotional outpouring in New York, and for all the undocumented in Boston that can't come home, and when we play Summer in Dublin, it's like, oh my, it gets us every time. It's very difficult to sing it.
And see, back then, would it have been difficult to get airplay? Because obviously we don't have the amount of radio stations and stuff that we have now, or even social media. Or was it as difficult back then to get, say, airplay? Because probably back then you would have had like RT, or probably would have been the only radio station back then.
It would have been, it was very difficult. And not only that, there was a lot of pirate stations around in people's bedrooms and that. But if you went with the pirates, RTE wouldn't play your stuff. So it was a real kind of, you kind of, what do you call it, sail close to the wind with a lot of the stuff at the time. Yeah. But I do remember we were playing Summer in Dublin on the programme for 2 years. And, gentle hand clapping, another song. And then it started to get airplay, which is only goes to show you the power of the radio. As soon as it started to get airplay, I remember one night down, we were all down in Minnie's in Dungarvan and in Waterford. And I remember when we played somewhere in Dublin, it had been getting radio play at this stage.
Yeah.
And we got a standing ovation. We'd never, ever got a standing ovation in our life. And I remember we looked at each other and thought, what's going on here? What is this,
Yeah.
Because we at the time, we were just a bunch of guys playing music, and we'd no real expectation, no plan. We just like to play music, and play. Liam and John and myself even like to hear our songs played with the rest of the members. But we never had a plan that we were going to conquer the world or anything like that. But when we got that standing ovation for the first time ever, we realised there could be something in this.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't a clue.
Yeah. And was the first time when you performed on the Late Late Show, that was probably the biggest gig you probably had at that point?
When we did the Late Late Show, I'll tell you, it just took off like a rocket. I mean, every supermarket you go into, every shop you go into, it would be on the radio. It was just everywhere. And that was the power of the Late Late Show at the time with Gay Byrne, who actually loved Bagatelle. He gave us about 15 Late Late Shows. He was great.
Right. Moving forward.
And he said to Liam, good boy.
Yeah.
That'll do very well for you in the hit parade, I think.
Yeah. Moving forward to more recent times, I suppose the whole COVID period, obviously from 2020 to kind of where we are now, a lot happened for your band, obviously with gigs and then obviously with the passing of Liam.
Yes, I still do believe that if there hadn't been lockdown, I think Liam might still be alive, because Liam lived on his own, and he was a very intellectual kind of a guy. Like, Liam would rather read a book than go for a walk, where I'd rather go for a walk than and I'd have a look at a few pages and I'd leave it there till the next time, and that. Where Liam would actually, he was an avid reader. Him and John O'Brien, by the way, were like, it was like being in a band with two university professors, and the two of them would mentally fence every now and again, and and both of them would realize, well, who was the most intellectual of the two, because that's where those great songs come from that amazing intellect that they had.
Yeah. And was it a massive shock, or was it something maybe that he was ill or something that you thought, well, maybe he could be at the end, you know what I mean? Was it just a massive shock when he actually did
massive shock? It was New Year's night, and I just had a beautiful meal and a lovely bottle of wine, and at 11:30 the manager rang me and he said to me, I have terrible news for you. And the minute I heard that, I swear to you, I knew exactly what he was going to tell me.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't expecting it, but I knew. I mean, terrible news from a manager of a band can only mean one thing. Yeah. And when he told me that, it was like, I froze. I just, actually, when you go into, you don't know what to do. Like, I froze. I just froze. I just, and it took me a while, and he kept saying, hello, are you there? I said, hold on a second, I need to take this in, And it was a dreadful shock, because Liam was like, my relationship with John was like our musical father. He was older than us, and he was kind of the shepherd of the band, and he was all, like, he started the band and everything. Yeah. Where Liam was more like my musical brother, so it was like losing. In fact, I probably spent more time with Liam than I did with my own brothers.
Yeah. And I suppose even when you get that news, when you hear it first, as you say, when your manager was saying, hello, are you there? It takes time. You think, am I dreaming? Am I imagining this? Am I going to wake up in the morning and just realise this was all a dream and Liam's actually alive?
Yeah, and when he was saying that to me, his voice was like there was reverb on it. You know, the kind of way?
Yeah.
Like a big hall type of thing. It wasn't like, hello on the phone. And I didn't know. I wonder, is this the Twilight Zone? Are you in reality at all?
Yeah.
And the first thing I said to him was, are you sure? He says, yeah, I'm positive. I just got a phone call from his sister. I said, oh Lord, that's it,
Yeah. And did you think that was it? That was at the end of the road for the band? We have to, I suppose, go our separate ways, or how do we move on from this, basically?
Well, I did, because I mean, you couldn't, like, Liam had this most distinctive voice, a most incredible musician, an amazing musical brain. For if I'd bring a song in, by the time he and John would chop it up, it actually became a song. If you know what I mean. Yeah. Where they were just. I mean, their intellect was incredible. I miss both of them dreadfully. That's why it took us a good while to actually find the right people. But the funny thing about it is, the people that we found were right under our nose, because they used to open for us before we'd actually play.
Right.
So you know what I mean? Like, but, the way sometimes when people are so close to you, it's the last people you think of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I mean, and not only that, like there's great photos with them, with Liam and all that. You know, it's where we'd meet them, maybe playing before the gigs and that. And I have to say, they are just, and they're, we had a rehearsal there yesterday, just before the Kilkenny, or the Letterkenny gig, should I say. And even to rehearse with them is a joy, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just saying, like, you know, I have to tell you, even rehearsals, they're saying, really enjoying these rehearsals, they're saying to me. I said, so am I. I think it's great. You know? And it's a fun situation with them all. They're lovely people to work with. As I say, I know them all for years anyway. Like, they're like extended family to me.
Yeah. And it's good to have that buzz, I suppose, when you got the news of Liam's pass, you know, thinking, well, maybe this is the end, to think that, well, 2 or 3 years later, here we are, we're back rehearsing, and you're loving it, basically.
Loving it. And the great thing about it is the people who are singing the songs are huge fans of Bagatelle. You know, they and their own gigs, they sing Bagatelle songs and that. But to find them, I tell you what helped as well a huge amount was that documentary they did on Bagatelle. They shot it up in the beautiful Kilrudry estate over 2 days, TG4 did. And it was number one for 12 or 14 weeks or something like that. And we got Liam Mulwaney, and he did Trump Card. We got Tommy Fleming, he did Flight of Earls. He did Boston Rose. We had Ryan McMullen, did The Streets of New York. We had Camille O'Sullivan, did Lisa Street Lady.
All right,
Lucia Evans did Rock and Roll Fantasy. And Brian Kennedy came down from Belfast and did Second Violin, and they all did. The High Kings did Summer in Dublin, and it was just it was great. The whole thing it was number one. In fact, it's still on their website. We were beaten by Gogglebox, by the way.
Right.
Because they were nominated for an award, the director and producer. And if you have a look at the doc, you'll see why. Because the sets they put together and everything are just pure class. You know, they really are. And
can people who listen to this, if they want to go and watch, is it the TG Carr Player, is it, or where will people be fit to watch it?
Yeah, it's on the TG Carr Player. It's almost the Liam Riley and Bagatelle. There's interviews with everybody, Angus McNally and you know, Eileen Dunn and everybody, you know, with the Irish, with the Gaeilgeoirs, and of course Liam Mulwaney's the fluent Gaeilgeoir. But Colm Nuddick from Keela, you know, everybody's you know, who's. And every one of them were just so honoured to be asked to be part of it because, you know, because the band is such an iconic band over the years. Like on the 29th of August this year, the band will be 35 years old.
Oh my God, that's incredible, isn't it?
1978.
Right. My God, it's incredible. You know, when you
or is it 45 years? I can't.
I was going to say, wasn't it 45 years in 1978?
Yeah. Sorry, I was never good at maths, as you can tell.
Not meaning to make you feel older there, but yeah, it's 45 years.
No wonder the Christian Brothers bet me off.
So tell us about the gig. How did the gig come about in Donegal here in Letterkenny?
Well, we have a long association with Letterkenny. I'm sure some of your listeners will remember back in the day in the 80s when we were playing at the Golden Grill, and all of a sudden most of the audience disappeared because the floor went from under the dance floor. Everybody disappeared. I still meet people when we were gigging. They used to come up and say, I was there the night of the grill, you know, and they say, oh, you wanted to disappear, you know, and they went down the floor.
Yeah.
It was an amazing thing to watch because there's like a huge circle from the middle of the audience, and they played, the joint was jumping, and next thing, the whole thing just disappeared. It just vanished. You know? It was only an outer circle of people. Yeah. But we were between that and the Pulse nightclub and all these places that we gigged, you know, and the Holiday Inn at the time we used to gig. I don't know what it's called now. The hotel down there at the roundabout. Like we've gigged everywhere, all over the country, and we've huge supporters and friends all over the country who our songs have them. Our songs are they're like it's. Excuse me, a soundtrack to people's lives because there's births, marriages, and deaths involved in these things, and like particularly for the likes of the undocumented in the States who can't come home or they wouldn't get back in, and they've missed out on marriages, they've missed out on parents' deaths and funerals, they've missed out on their brothers or their sisters being married, they've missed out on seeing their they see them on Zoom and all that, or whatever, you know, like on these platforms, but it's not the same as they say on the radio. Sometimes you can hug a Zoom.
Yeah. So you're really looking forward to the gig and getting back up to Donegal.
I am so happy to get back up there because an awful lot of people from Derry will probably come over for that as well. And we have a huge following there as well, as we have in Belfast and all over Northern Ireland, really, and the north of Ireland, in Omagh, everywhere. When the Omagh bombing happened that time, we were asked to go over to New York to play at a huge fundraiser, which we did in Gaelic Park in the Bronx, and they raised millions out of it. Great people on everyone was on it. Brendan O'Carroll, the Wolf Tones were all invited over to play for it. And sure, of course we said, of course we will. Sure, we did. Our first ever gig, by the way, was in Omagh, in the Knocknama Hotel in Omagh, right, in the north. And I have to say, we were terrified going up because of all the news bulletins. And when we went up, we realised it was a wonderland, and the people were just so beautiful. Yeah, it was great. And we never from that moment on, we had no problem. We'd travel up to them, and we'd love to play. We have a lot of friends of ours we've become over the years. They even have our numbers and they send us messages and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the gig is on tomorrow, Friday, of course, the 18th of August. And I don't think the weather, not to dampen the spirits, but I don't think the weather is going to be too good compared to the weather today, because I can see you here on Zoom and it's absolutely stunning where you are.
Look at that down there now. There's Bray Country Wicklow. I'm up here in the green with my little.
You have the dog out as well.
As I say, come out, you black and tan. Black and tan Jack Russell. But it's absolutely beautiful up here. Now, I've been watching the weather and the weather does not look good, I have to say. And fingers crossed, it won't be too bad,
Yeah. But hopefully if people put on their jackets and take out umbrellas and everything, it'll not dampen the spirits and it'll be a good night.
Well, my cousin is a Cavan man. And he says to me, Ireland would be a great country if you could roof it. Yeah,
exactly. Or Ireland would be a great country if it only had better weather, basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is great. When you get great days in Ireland, Ireland is unbeatable. It's a beautiful place.
I was just actually saying that to Niamh, the producer there, just when you connected into the Zoom, and I was saying, look at the weather there, and I said, when you look, Ireland is a fantastic and absolutely gorgeous country if we just had a wee bit of the better weather.
Yeah. I lived in London in the 80s for a couple of years. In fact, I shared a house with the drummer, who's Howard Wilson. He's a Yorkshire man,
Yeah.
He was playing with the Foundations and all over there at the time. And we were in different... I was in Bagatelle, but I'd fly back to Ireland to gig. Or when we come over to England, I'd do the gigs over there. But I did 2 years in London in the 80s, and it was just amazing because we were invited down to all the clubs and all down, hanging out there. Now, we just say hello to the likes of George Michael or Spandau Ballet. We never got talking to them or anything like that, but the record company invited us down to the Legends and all these different places, Stringfellows. Yeah. And it was just great to be kind of rubbing shoulders with these people even, because these are people with all these amazing songs.
Yeah.
But, and then I could have lived in. I had a green card. I could have lived in America, but I just love living in Ireland. I like the country. I like the people. I like the pace of life as well.
Yeah. Well, listen, Ken, it's been great chatting to you on the programme today, and look, best of luck as well with the gig tomorrow night.
Well, thanks, Kevin, and it's great talking with you. And listen, thanks for everything. And I finally come into the 21st century. I got the Zoom thing.
Yeah. And it held up for us as well. We're a wee bit worried we might have to revert to the phone line, but thancefully it held out for us.
It rocked. Yeah.
Listen,
Kevin, listen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, as we all are. And
great.
I tell you what, I promise you one thing, you won't be disappointed. We've got a great crew with us this time. They're the best of the best.
Great stuff. Good stuff. There you have it, Ken Doyle. Ken, thank you very much, as I said, once again, for joining us on the programme.
Thank Kevin. Keep on rocking.
Cheers. Thank you very much. There you go. That's Ken Doyle, founding member of Bagatelle. And of course, they are going to be playing at the Letterkenny Festival tomorrow, Friday, the 18th of August.
Take me away from the city and lead me to where I can be on my own. I wanted to see you, and now that I have, I just want to be left alone.